Okay, what if I told you that one of the absolute best case studies on leadership wasn't written in the last 10 years, but thousands of years ago? We're going to unpack an organizational crisis and a totally genius solution that didn't happen in some fancy boardroom, but right in the middle of the desert. Yeah, we're talking about the story of Jethro's counsel to Moses.
So the source for this whole explainer is just a single, really powerful chapter from the book of Exodus. The scene is set in this vast, empty wilderness right after that dramatic escape from Egypt. And at this exact moment, Moses is about to have a family reunion that is going to completely change how he thinks about leadership.
And this whole reunion, it really frames a question that is just timeless for any leader, whether you're a startup founder or, Moses himself. What actually happens when you become the bottleneck, when you're the one trying to carry the entire weight of everything on your own two shoulders?
So let's set the scene here. We've got a reunion happening out in the desert. Moses is meeting his family again after being apart for a long, long time. But listen, this is way more than just a social call. This meeting brings an outsider's perspective that's about to become absolutely priceless.
The key players here are pretty simple. You've got Moses, the leader, and then you have Jethro, his father-in-law. And that family connection, it is everything. It basically gives Jethro a free pass to give the kind of brutally honest feedback that, let's be real, no employee would ever dare to give their boss.
All right, now we get to the real heart of the problem. The day after they all get together, Jethro is just kind of watching Moses at work. And what he sees, well, it's deeply troubling.
So picture the scene Jethro witnessed. There's just this massive line of people stretching as far as the eye can see, and they are standing there all day long, from sunrise to sunset, just waiting to speak with the one and only judge for the entire nation, Moses. I mean, it is a total and complete logistical nightmare.
So Jethro just asks this simple but incredibly powerful question that cuts right to the heart of it all. He sees how inefficient this is immediately and basically asks, why are you doing this all by yourself? Why does this entire system grind to a halt without you? It's that classic outsider's view, just cutting right through all the noise.
Now, Moses' reason for all this actually comes from a good place. He explains that the people come to him to inquire of God. He sees himself as the only connection, the sole person who can deliver law and judgment. He wants to get it right, of course, but he's making a classic leadership mistake. He's confusing being the source of the vision with being the only one who can actually do the work.
And this is the turning point. Jethro listens to all this, and then he delivers what is, for all intents and purposes, the world's very first management consulting report. And trust me, he does not mince words.
Jethro's diagnosis is just brutally direct. The thing that you're doing, it's not good. He points out two huge failures. First, Moses himself is going to burn out. He will surely wear away. And second, the people aren't being served well at all. The burden is just way too heavy for one person to carry. It's impossible.
And here's the genius part. Jethro doesn't just criticize, he comes with a clear, actionable plan. First, he completely redefines Moses' job. He tells him, stop being the judge for every little thing. Instead, you need to focus on the big picture, teach the laws, and be their main representative to God. And second, he tells him to delegate, to build an actual system.
But delegation isn't just about dumping tasks on other people. Jethro gives some very specific criteria for hiring. He says you need able men, people who are competent, who know what they're doing. But just as important, you need people with character, people who respect a higher authority, who are honest, and who can't be bribed. Skill and integrity, he's saying, have to go hand in hand.
So, did Moses actually take this totally revolutionary advice? Oh, he did way more than just listen. He acted on it, building an entire organizational structure from the ground up, all based on Jethro's blueprint.
What he ends up creating is this brilliant tiered system of justice. You can almost think of it like a corporate org chart. He appoints rulers over groups of thousands, then hundreds, then 50s, and even 10s. All the small, everyday problems, they get handled at the lowest possible level. Only the really tough cases, the great matters, get escalated up the chain to Moses.
The transformation was just incredible. The system went from one single judge to many, from people waiting all day to getting swift justice. It went from a leader headed for certain burnout to a shared burden. What was once a total bottleneck became this efficient, scalable organization. And this might just be the most important leadership lesson in the entire story, right here. Moses, this great prophet, this huge leader, he had the humility to actually listen to outside advice and the wisdom to implement it, to do everything Jethro said. His real strength wasn't in having all the answers himself, but in being smart enough to recognize a better idea when he heard one.
The result was a win-win, a victory on two fronts. First, Moses was actually able to sustain his leadership without completely burning out. And second, the people were well served and could finally go home in peace. The new system worked for absolutely everyone.
So that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This ancient story seems to suggest that true leadership isn't really about being the one person who can do all the work. It's about being the architect who builds a system that empowers everyone to do their best work. Definitely something to think about.